You know, one thing that has puzzled me about MAGA, the maggots and the QAnons and the Trump, everybody connected with Trump, peripherally, directly, indirectly, everyone is a liar, a thief, a grifter, a cheat. They have no sense of morality or ethical behavior. But I've never been able to figure out yet why the attorneys who have worked for Trump and have done evil shit, I mean bad, illegal things, like Rudy Giuliani, like Sidney, the list goes on and on, like this crazy bastard Stefan Passantino, who tried to get Cassidy Hutchinson to commit perjury before the J6 committee. Why are they not disbarred? I can't understand that. I'm sure that in the lawyer's code of ethics, or whatever it's called, there are rules set forth. Probably a lot of them are vague because, well, let's face it, no offense, lawyer guys and lawyer girls, but let's face it, lawyers are very slick and slippery. In some cases, of course, they have to be. And sometimes they're so slick and so slippery, they get caught and spend the rest of their lives in prison. A la the Murdoch case over in South Carolina, but I digress. So why are these lawyers? They're officers of the court. They are supposed to protect, defend, prosecute. What else are they supposed to do? And I think above all, they are supposed to tell the truth, even if they sometimes feel they have to hedge the truth a wee bit in order to benefit their client. But in the case of Donald Trump, anyone and everyone associated with him is, like I mentioned, without being repetitious here, is a liar, a cheat, a grifter, and a lawbreaker. So why do they still have their law licenses? Well, some prominent lawyers have filed a scathing ethics complaint against this latest scum bastard, Stefan Passantino. He's the one who represented Cassidy Hutchinson in the early stages of the J6 committee's investigation. And if you remember, when she appeared before that committee last year, she's a former White House aide, and she recounted for the committee and everyone who was watching. I found that the best television I think I've ever seen. But she told the story of how Donald Trump's conduct in the lead up to the attacks on the Capitol, how that evolved, what was there. She was the eyes and ears for us. And she also shared with all of us how her original lawyer, this Stefan Passantino scum, tried to influence her testimony. In other words, tried to witness tamper, tried to commit witness fraud. God knows what else he tried to do. Now, she had a second lawyer when she appeared before the J6 committee, but when Pasentino was her lawyer, she was less forthcoming, as she admits, to the committee. But after hiring a different lawyer, once she figured out what this Stefan Passantino was trying to do, she provided just a whole bunch of damaging details about how Trump conducted himself and how he was instrumental in inciting people to commit a riot against the United States. And she also said that Pasentino had pressured her to remain loyal. You know, you got to stay loyal, honey. I mean, you're either in the mob or you're not, and you are, so you got to stay loyal. Oh, and Cassidy, my dear, you have to help protect the former president. Can you believe that? A lawyer telling Cassidy Hutchinson, who witnessed the most outrageous bullshit going on, being told that she had to protect the president. Well, in light of all that, now there are several dozen, let's say several is what, 4? Dozen is 12, what, 40 or 50 prominent legal figures in this country, including a number of past presidents, plural, of the American Bar Association and the District of Columbia Bar Association, They're trying to revoke Pasentino's license to practice law. Why hasn't that been done already? I mean, I used to say during the Bush administration, when the Bush administration's more outrageous acts took place, I used to say, what will it take to wake the American public up as to what is going on? Well, what it took was, George W. Bush to serve out his 8 years, commit all the war crimes he wanted to commit, make torture an official policy of the United States government, until the American people decided to elect Barack Obama. And then something happened. I don't know what it was. After Obama served 8 years, the American public went slowly insane. And in some instances, not so slow. And we came up with this monstrous, grifting bastard Donald Trump. But I digress again. So this effort to revoke Pasentino's license to practice law, you might say, is part of an intensifying scrutiny over whether this guy, and don't laugh when I tell you this, you probably remember, I don't know if you remember or not, but Pasentino was a former Trump White House ethics lawyer. I tell you not to laugh, and I sit here and I can't help myself. An ethics lawyer who suggested to Cassidy Hutchinson, well, honey, you have to protect the president, and you got to remain loyal. I mean, that's what we do in the mob. We don't rat out our compadres. We especially don't rat out the capo di tutti capos. We don't. So, Cassidy, a former White House ethics lawyer whose legal fees were covered by Trump's Political Action Committee. And who violated his own professional duty, and according to these other attorneys, a host of other ethical requirements. He violated them by putting the interests of a third party, that would be the orange vomit, Donald Trump, over that of his client, who was Cassidy Hutchinson at the time. So the idea apparently was, let's throw Cassidy Hutchinson to the wolves. Let's throw anybody and everybody to the wolves. We have to protect the president, the former president. So what happened yesterday, Monday, is a 22-page complaint was filed with the District of Columbia's Board on Professional Responsibility. And in that complaint, these lawyers accused Pasentino of the crimes of subordination, of perjury, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and bribery. Good God! What did they leave out? Well, they left out murder, but subordination of perjury, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and bribery. And that latter, the bribery part, according to the New York Times, that referred in part to what Cassidy Hutchinson said, that this rat bastard Pasentino told her that, don't say a lot to the panel, and we'll make sure that you get a, quote, really good job in Trump world, end quote. Oh, my God. This is never ending. Oh, I've said that before. I've said it so many times. It just keeps metastasizing and getting worse. The complaint, it was filed by this group called Lawyers Defending American Democracy. The complaint said in part, quote, the Office of Disciplinary Counsel should promptly initiate investigation of Mr. Pasentino's conduct, and if the facts described above in the complaint are confirmed, seek his disbarment, end quote. Well, now, a lawyer representing the lawyer Pasentino, who is a criminal, in my opinion, the intent was clear, but a lawyer representing this Pasentino bastard, a guy named Ross Garber, he provided an 8-page response to the complaint, this 22-page complaint filed by the attorney group in D.C., the Lawyers Defending American Democracy. And in that 8-page response, he mentioned that, or he portrayed the complaint by all these prominent lawyers as a smear campaign. Oh, they're just trying to hurt my boy Pasentino, and ultimately the beloved, beautiful, wonderful, lovely brother of Jesus Christ, Donald Jesus Trump. And he tried to, this jerk bastard Ross Garber tried to disparage the significance of what this Lawyers Defending American Democracy filed, because Cassidy Hutchinson had not filed it. And they also, this Ross Garber pointed to parts of the transcripts that Mr. Garber said undermined various allegations against Mr. Pasentino. I certainly would like to know, and I guess I'll have to wait and read the complaint or the response to the complaint to find out what the hell he's talking about. But if you remember, oh God, don't we, in closed-door depositions and then testimony broadcast on television, Cassidy Hutchinson, former aide to one of the real criminals in this, one of the really criminals, Mark Meadows, who was Trump's White House chief of staff. But Hutchinson told the J6 committee how Trump had urged armed supporters to the Capitol. Go get them, boys. You're going to have to fight like hell, right? And the fact that Trump did not give a goddamn about the potential for violence in the time leading up to that riot. Well, don't editorialize, Mike. Just continue. Don't editorialize. Moi? Anyway, Cassidy Hutchinson also indicated that she had been less than forthcoming in earlier depositions before the J6 committee because of the advice she got from this criminal son of a bitch, Pasentino, who is still a practicing attorney. She said, Cassidy Hutchinson said, that when Pasentino announced that he was her lawyer, she didn't retain him. He went to her. I'm sure it was on the absolute direction of either Mark Meadows and or the bum bastard Donald Trump. And they said, hey, you're going to have to jump in there very quick, Pasentino, and stop this young lady from spilling her guts. So Cassidy Hutchinson said that when Pasentino announced he was her lawyer, he didn't disclose who was paying him. And then, according to Ms. Hutchinson, he tried to influence her testimony. Like, apparently he advised her over and over again, and this came out in the testimony, to say, well, I don't recall. Well, I don't remember. Well, I'm not sure. Even if she did recall, even if she did remember, and even if she was sure. I mean, how do you prove somebody was lying when they say, well, I don't recall that? Well, I don't have a memory of that. That was one of the ploys used by the witnesses in the the Watergate case a generation ago. So Pasentino was telling Miss Cassidy Hutchinson to pretend like she didn't. I know nothing, like Sergeant Schultz, I guess, right? I know nothing. And in the middle of all this, sitting in the center of this spider web, is this huge, hulking, bulbous, blonde, bloated, filthy, poisonous arachnid, Donald Trump. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.